Hey,
Ow, I hurt
Rob, who's the singer of that song again, Rob?
That is legendary California/Nashville singer-songwriter Shelby Ann, who is available for
Ooh.
bookings and work as a jingle writer.
Well, welcome to Highlights from Lowlifes. This is a very special episode
It is.
right before the Super Bowl is coming weekend between our local San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. I wonder who will win. Could be a good game. I think the folks in Vegas are pretty excited about having the Super Bowl there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should be fun. Um, I think, are doing episode 28 tonight. So we've been doing this for half a year now.
You think at some point we know what we're doing, but that's okay.
So tonight's topic is top 5 Super Bowl moments um, that are personal to us. We should have a lot of different opinions on this, although we are worried that we'll have crossover on the Bay Area connection. But I think there's plenty of moments to go around. Again, the Lowlifes group of friends who play baseball together in the Bay Area, and during the pandemic, we spent time on Zoom, checking in on each other, and those weekly or twice a week sessions became they gave us homework, and we had to come up with top 5s for different topics. We stayed mostly in sports, and tonight we're moving over to football. We usually do baseball, but this will be fun. So let's get started with number 5. Jeff,
Oh,
since
I
you
get
want
to
to
start.
get the San Francisco ones out of the way fast.
No, my San Francisco ones, I am not moving down the list so I can get them out first and be the winner. I'm going to go with something completely different. I'm going to go to the other coast.
Oh,
And some of these I forgot to research the exact year and the Super Bowl number and everything like that. So, but you're going to know exactly what it is when it was. But it was the Washington Redskins winning the Super Bowl with the first black quarterback in a Super Bowl, Doug Williams. I remember that being played up so big, and he lived up to that moment and just dominated that game. Really, and that was early on in my football fandom and watching on a regular basis, and I just thought that was so impressive that he took that all in and everything that everybody made it and just rose to the occasion.
And I think that's still a record for points scored in one period by Doug Williams. I think it scored 28 second quarter or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Just annihilated them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's my number 5. Robbie?
All right. So my number 5 didn't happen in the game. It happened after the game. So this is Super Bowl 13. So I said after the game because I didn't want anybody to think I was talking about the Up With People halftime show. But after the
Damn
Super
it, you
Bowl,
just took my number 1.
Yeah. I took 1, 3, and 5 from Weber. So the Steelers beat the Cowboys 35-31 in a pretty intense game at Super Bowl 13. After the game, a fan wandered into the Steelers locker room. He showered with the team. He went to Larry Brown's locker and dressed and started fielding questions from the press. Yeah. And after a while, the press was like, who the hell is this guy? Steve Sable, from NFL Films, had seen the guy and listened to a couple of the guy's answers. And Steve Sable called him, like, I want to make sure I read this right, a little bald guy, pasty white, kind of a nothing. So he took questions, and Steve Sable went over to Mean Joe Green and said, "Hey, Mean Joe, who's that guy?" And he goes, "I have no idea." So as soon as the press kind of started catching on, the guy could sense that. He just sort of sauntered out of the locker room, never to be caught, never to be seen again.
Oh,
Wow.
But it's one of the great stories about the Super Bowl I've
I
ever heard. So,
I had never heard that one.
oh yeah, look it
That's
up.
new to me.
Wow.
There, I think Sports Illustrated did a big article with Steve Sable, and that was like out of all of everything Steve Sable's ever done with NFL films and all the games he's been to, that's his most talked about moment is the fan in the Steelers locker room showering with the
Nice.
team and then taking questions from the press.
I when we get to honorable mentions, I want to ask a question about a fan on the field after the game, but I don't want to say it now in case it comes
It's on
up in
somebody's
anybody's list.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Webby.
All right, I'm gonna go back to Super Bowl one, the
One.
very first Super Bowl ever with the Packers. I think the Packers were playing the Chiefs, if I remember right.
Right.
And you know, the players weren't sure what to make of this new Super Bowl thing. Um, they just saw it as another playoff game, and some of the players they pretty much knew they weren't going to play a lot, so they partied a lot the night before. One of them was Max McGee of the Packers, and Max got pretty walloped the night before and had quite the hangover coming into the next day, but he didn't really think he's going to play all that much. But then Boyd Dowler went down with a separated shoulder,
Ooh.
and Bart Starr needed to go to his 3 or maybe 4 receiver. And sure enough, Max got called in and became a pivotal part of Super Bowl one, catching a bunch of big passes down the stretch. One of his catches was a one-handed catch over the
Yeah,
middle.
behind him.
Yeah, and they asked him about it after the game, and his first response is, "I don't remember." And then they showed him the video, and he said, "Oh yeah, okay, this is what happened, and here's why I was, in that situation." But yes, he later admitted to the press corps and the folks at NFL Films that he was hungover for most of the game. Um,
Nice.
maybe that contributed to him playing better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he's Irish. I mean, who else do you want to have playing with a hangover?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my number 5 there. All right, Marty, what do you got?
Well, first of all, just the game on Sunday. I'm partial. I have my Kruko jersey in the background for San Francisco, but I'm drinking out of my Joe's Barbecue mug from Kansas City. So I figure that's as partial as anybody can get, right? So, let's go back to 13, Super Bowl 13. Rob mentioned that, and it's memorable to me because of one play. And it cost them the game. But anytime you can see a Cowboy receiver wide open in the end zone and drop the bloody ball like Jackie Smith did, and not only the it was great. Just Sable at NFL Films, they captured some great responses of Staubach throwing his head up in disgust, and Tom Landry, a stoic individual that doesn't have any emotions at all. He can't friggin' believe it. And anytime you can see a Cowboy screw up, I think it's just great. So that's etched in my mind. The Jackie Smith dropping the touchdown, which wound up being the difference in the game because they only lost that game by about 4 points, I think.
And
So,
a lot of people would argue he's one of the best pass catching tight ends of all time.
Exactly.
Right.
And that one was right
and
in boilerplate.
Yeah, because I just saw one of the snippets earlier this afternoon, and they were just saying, "Oh, I've known him for years, and he's been around for like, yeah, sure enough, yeah." But anyhow, just seeing a Cowboy screw up is so much fun.
Yes.
And on Jeff, take number 4.
Oh, all right. I'll start again.
Sure.
I'm gonna go to the Raiders.
Oh,
Not my favorite team, but one of my favorite plays of all time was the Marcus Allen run against the Redskins, where he completely just lost it and ran into a wall, turned around, went the complete other direction, took it all the way down the field. Just
Yeah.
a completely busted play, terrible. And somehow we got out of it and just took off and ran. And that was just like one of those plays that you go, did that just happen? Did that really just happen? Number one, how did that happen? Number two, how does a Super Bowl level defense let that happen? Even against somebody as good as Marcus Allen.
Right.
And it was, many times the classic line, yeah, just how we drew it up that way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what we said. We're going to go like this and
Yeah.
just see all these lines that go over here and just stop and go back. That's us. All right, Robbie. No, I went to Robbie last time. Let's go to Weber this time.
All right, let's see. Super Bowl 7. The Garo Yepremian game.
Yeah. I knew that would. I didn't even bother with that because that was going to be on there somewhere.
Clearly.
I remember not being all that interested in watching the Super Bowl that year because I just thought Miami was going to crush whoever they played. And Washington had a good defense, but still, Miami was so good. But the game was surprisingly close. And if you guys remember, Garo, who was an excellent kicker, had a kick blocked, a field goal attempt. And sure enough, the ball bounces back to him, and he's this tiny little guy on the field. And what he should have done is fallen on the ball. And I'm sure he was told that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But he attempted to throw a pass, I believe, with the opposite hand.
Yeah.
It kind of slithered off his hand. Mike Bass of the Redskins grabbed the ball and ran it into the end zone, and now we had a football game. And now the Dolphins fans had somebody to point at and blame. Thankfully, they won the game 14-7, but that will be one of the ugliest plays in the history of the Super Bowl. And it's always fun to watch somebody try and reenact it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of it, because of my statement, it reminds me every time Landerman tries to throw the ball from shortstop. It's kind of very similar.
Finally gets a dig on him, and he has to put it down.
Yeah, well, of course.
Ouch.
All right, Marty, what do you got for number 4 there?
Okay, I'm doing the Super Bowl 17. Was that 17? I think I'm not sure that's right. I didn't write that down right. It was the Harbaugh Bowl. It was, again, the 49ers and Baltimore. And I remember I watched that at someone's house. I think he's on the screen.
It was a good day, huh?
Could have been.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, right. Because I did this, and again, Super Bowl memories. I have a lot of memories about the game, but the one that takeaway is didn't happen in the game. I was I was married at one time, and the 49ers are playing this, and everybody that shows up at the party was rooting for the 49ers except one. Now, this wasn't the reason for the separation, but it kind of gives you the attitude. my the ex-wife, having just finished watching the movie Blindside, showed up in a Michael Orr jersey at my friend's house to watch the Super Bowl. She could care less about the game itself. She just wanted to be the little antagonist, little pebble in the gears. And so that was a memory of everybody taking sides of, what's she doing that for? And so fond memories of my ex-wife at the Super Bowl, at the Harbaugh Super Bowl, by making me well, whatever. Let's leave it there. Robbie, help me.
All right. So mine is Super Bowl 11, and the event that occurred. I think it's in the second half. The Vikings are threatening. They're actually they have a chance to maybe pull this game out. Tarkenton drops back to pass, rolls out, fires a pass over to the side, and Willie Brown, out of nowhere, just in full stride, catches that ball as an interception and runs it back 75 yards for the touchdown. Now, it's not so much the play. I mean, the play is amazing, but for years, in the beginning of Monday Night Football, the slow motion opening, and they had that close up of Willie Brown and the intensity and focus on his face. He was going to get in for that touchdown. And it secured the Raiders win. But I just remember for years, it was in the opening of Monday Night Football after that. And yeah, so that's a great play. It's seared in my mind just because of the opening of the show.
Nice.
So is that it?
I think that's it.
What time is it, Rob?
Well, I think it's our favorite segment of the show. What you drinking? So,
Yay!
once again, as always, here are the highlights from Low Life Show. We are sponsored by our good friends at Almanac Brewing in Alameda, California, one of America's premier craft brewers. We all get the pleasure of drinking a bunch of their different beers. I'm the new one's coming out soon, so I got to hoard the rest of this Porch Light Lager from their lager series. It is delicious, and you guys know the rest. Marty, what you drinking?
Back to basics. It's the Kolsch. It's their best beer. I think it's their best beer, and by popular consensus, it is. But
I think we hold the majority.
It's a true Kolsch, and I was thinking of it. I just finished the beforehand the Flow, which is another great beer.
Sure.
And it's true, and it's Flow, and they do it. It almost makes you want. You might think they want you to buy the beer because of the words, the advertising. It's amazing how they do that. I'm drinking.
Speaking of words and lack thereof, nice job.
How about lack of words? Always and forever, true Kolsch.
Oh, you're not going to say tried and true?
Always and forever, true Kolsch.
I think Jeff should come up with some kind of long tagline, like a moth drawn to something, or I can't remember. Like that. All right, tonight I am drinking the Off-World IPA.
Nice.
Ooh.
Which I really like. This is right up there with the Love Hazy. So I've gotten used to this one. If you're looking in the liquor stores, this is the one with the spy on it. Looks like a shadowy
hat and
figure
cloak
in a suit, hat and trench coat.
Yeah,
so.
like I said, you think they do this stuff intentionally to get us to buy the beer? I don't.
Tagline is bold, lush, and juicy, just like our friend Big Juicy.
Did you say bald, lush, and loose, juicy?
No.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
And we're gonna hear from Big Juicy in a little bit. So that's a very excellent segue.
Oh boy, are we ever.
Anyway, thanks to Almanac. Stop by the brewery in Alameda. Tell them you heard about them from the highlights from Lowlife show. They'll take pity upon you. They'll probably give you a tasting flight, though, so you come out a winner in that deal. So anyway, thank you, Almanac.
All
Oh, we
right.
got a,
Thank you.
speaking of Big Juicy,
Darn right you're going to hear from me in a little bit. Knock that stuff off.
he's drunk.
And let's not
What
forget
else is new?
this.
Oh, yes.
Realizing I'll probably be the second one to mention this, but I'm having a Porch Light Lager,
Hey,
like a moth to a light. I'm drawn to this beer. Cheers, boys.
Oh,
come on,
God.
JC.
Don't give him any credit. Oh, goodness.
Other people have been indoctrinated.
Yes.
That's
All right.
funny.
Let's move on to round 3. Robbie, who's up?
Oh, how about you?
All right. I'm ready. I'm gonna dive right in and spoil it for everybody. I'm gonna go back to January 24th, 1982.
You are gonna.
Yeah.
I have
And
to get another lager now.
The 49ers are playing in. Okay, I'm trying to read Roman numerals here. I think it's Super Bowl 16. And the Bengals are driving, and they've got the ball deep in Niners territory, and they've got a couple of shots at the end zone. And on the first play, there's a swing pass out to the right. Ken Anderson hits Charles Alexander, and Dan Buns perfectly anticipates what's going on, hits Alexander high, because if he hit him low, he would have fallen into the end zone. Hits him high, drives him back. And then on the very next play, the 49ers defense comes up big again. It's called the stop out here on the West Coast.
Yep.
And that allowed the 49ers to win a very close game against a very good team. And the rest is history, with the Niners being a perennial playoff team after that. So that's my number 3, Dan Buns in the stop. I don't know if you guys knew, he lives, I think he is from Placerville, but settled in Roseville and has a couple of sports bars up there. So
It's got a great restaurant. Great
Yeah.
restaurant in a house downtown called Buns and Company.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
Road trip.
That's a
plastered with
dinner.
Niners memorabilia. If you like Niners stuff,
Oh yeah,
that's the
and
place to
it
go.
was right down the street from the Rockland training facility, like
Yeah. Yep.
a short drive away. So that's where I checked it out a couple of times. Yeah, good place. Yeah.
All right, Jeff, number 3.
All right, number 3. A little bit of comedy in this one, depending on which team you were rooting for. But the game is starting, and you got the ball, and your running back can't find his helmet. Thurman Thomas of the Buffalo Bills. I don't remember which of the 4 Super Bowls that this was, but he had a tradition of putting his helmet on the 34-yard line during the national anthem, and then the game would start, and he would get his helmet, and he has set his helmet down, and everything was happening, and somebody in the stage production of whether it was the national anthem or setting up for something moved a bunch of stuff so they could get their equipment where they needed to, and nobody knew where he put his helmet. So he missed the first part of the first drive because he couldn't find his helmet, and it seemed like Buffalo never recovered from that. They were just out of sorts the whole game. I just thought that was hilarious. What do you mean you can't find your helmet? Was your mommy not here?
Super Bowl 26. Yeah.
Ah,
I remember Thurman Thomas going, "You think that's why we lost the game? You're effed in the head."
yeah. All right, Marty.
Rob talked about the stop, which meant kind of red light. Well, I'm going to talk about the green light. Yes, it's the drive. This is again, and the neat part is that the 49ers in their heyday screwed Cincinnati twice. So it was great to see. Once was the stop. Now the other one was the drive, and that was Super Bowl 23. Again, a very close game with the Bengals, and we got 49ers got the ball on the 8-yard line with 3 minutes left, and just moved it right on down the field. And of course, they scored the touchdown and win the game with 32 seconds left. But did anybody go back and watch that again after it was done? Because not all that. It sounds like a great drive right on down the field, but they had their setbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a holding call, a couple incomplete passes. Literally, the one that stands out that most people forget was the play right before the touchdown. And I don't forgot the name of the individual that Montana throws it into the end zone, and the defensive back for the Bengals had it in his hands. It was going, he was going to intercept that thing, and he drops it. And the very next play, John Taylor gets the touchdown. The drive. So we have a stop and a drive.
So a couple of notes for you, Marty.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So the big play in the drive was a 2nd and 20 pass to Jerry Rice for 27 yards. That got him down to the 18. That was right after the holding penalty. So it's huge.
Yeah, and if I remember the play quickly, he could have gone into the end zone. Someone just got a piece of him and turned him around, and he fell. But
right.
So
And then secondly, I don't know if you guys knew this. John Taylor went to Giants fantasy camp with us.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, really?
And he was a great athlete, an even better person, just a super nice guy. But the thing that I remember the most is, that time when all of the campers get their photo taken with all of the pros that are at the camp. The pros sit or kneel or stand in the same pose for 45 minutes while all of the campers get their picture taken with them one at a time. Okay. The camper is in the front row middle. John Taylor did a backflip into that spot right before the picture was taken. It was amazing. I've got it on video someplace, but to the coach's credits, not one of them flinched when he came flying in.
Nice.
Right into the spot. So quite the athlete, well into his 40s. So very cool.
Wow, fantastic!
Mhm.
Oh, that would have been a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Mr. Lannerman,
I would be happy to.
Okay.
All right. So my number 3, what number was this? Super Bowl 24. 49ers versus the Broncos. They ran the same inside slant play 4 times for 4 touchdowns with 3 different guys. They line up the first time they had Brent Jones in the slot from about the 25-yard line. He ran down, made his cut. Montana hit him in stride for a touchdown. Then the next time, about 35 yards out, Jerry Rice lines up in the slot, runs down, makes his cut, catches the ball on the slant cut, touchdown. The next time it's the 40-yard line. Jerry Rice lines up in the slot, runs down, makes the catch on the slant. And the last time, John Taylor, from about 50 yards out, runs the exact same route, just different distances, same route over and over again, left-hand side in the slot with three guys, 4 touchdowns, same pass play. I mean, they just demolished. Remember the longest play from scrimmage that Elway had, a pass play, was a shovel pass.
Yeah.
They
I had
demolished the Broncos in that game, but just they kept running
Yeah.
that play, and like even at home, we're like, Jesus, step over one, slide the
Yeah.
linebacker over one step, play's done.
Really?
Blow by him every time. Same play over and over again.
I had friends at Merrill Lynch that lived in Denver, and we call them up and talk about the game. And even beforehand, she said, "Oh, we're gonna get killed." They knew going in, we're gonna get killed.
All right, Jonesy.
I've gone number 3.
Oh,
I
Bennett's
think it's
Webby.
Weber.
I think I've done 3 too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ah,
you were the last. Yeah,
I guess
okay.
that's it.
all right.
Mhm.
Then we're
Hey.
making the turn back to 2.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, then Jonesy.
All right. So I'll go with my 49er pick. And that is the Super Bowl with the Niners against the Chargers. Complete and utter destruction by the Niners offense. Just destroyed the Chargers. But the most memorable part was that clip of Steve Young on the sidelines yelling, "Come on, you guys, come get it. Come get it. Come get that monkey off my back." And they all just take the Montana monkey off his back and go, "All right, it's you. You're the man."
Yeah.
I love that clip.
Yep.
Just so cool. And that game was just an utter annihilation. Just like
Yeah.
against the Broncos. They just there was no competition from get-go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
I
call.
think the Chargers got a couple of garbage points towards the
Yeah,
end to make
they-
it
yeah, they did,
look like
yeah.
it was
Like,
closer
to
than
make
it
it
really
look-
was.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Marty.
I had to preclude this a little, and finding out that my sister is not listening, and she's at a Bible class. So I said it's probably more entertaining than us anyway. So, but my sister lives in Spokane, Washington, and a huge Seahawk fan. So that being said, you could probably guess where I was.
He's
But who
warming up.
can-
He's had 2 beers now.
Yeah.
Who can forget that memorable play in that Super Bowl in 2015? I forgot to write down the number of it. Where they're about to win the game. Less than a minute left. You're on the 1-yard line. You're about to go in and beat the New England Patriots that everybody in the world wants to see. Everybody in the world was pulling for you. And having the greatest running back that season, you still decide to throw a pass that gets intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. And everybody's jaws drops, from the Seahawks coach to Tom Brady to everybody. Couldn't believe what just happened here. So that was memorable in and of itself. But to add pain or extra to it, we had to listen to the broadcast. Was one of the announcers was Chris Collingsworth lecturing everybody in sports world of why they ran that play. So here, here's the we've done it. We've talked about him.
Mhm.
Well, his team throughout this. He lost the Super Bowl with the stop. He lost the Super Bowl with the drive. And now, as an announcer, he's telling us how to win football games?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, but goodness gracious! And again, I promised my sister that if she was listening in, I wouldn't use it. But what the heck? Now I'm in trouble again. Again. Webby, help me out.
All right. I'm going to talk about one that I didn't actually see. Super Bowl 35, Baltimore Ravens versus the New York Giants. You guys remember this?
Oh yeah.
A little bit.
The score is 10-0 in the third quarter. 36 seconds later, the score is 24-7. First, the Ravens defensive back, Dwayne Stark, returned an interception for a touchdown. The Ravens kicked off to the Giants, and Ron Dixon ran it back 97 yards for a touchdown.
Jesus.
The Giants kicked off, and Baltimore's Jermaine Lewis responded with a kickoff return of his own, and it's 24-7.
God damn.
36 seconds later. The Ravens at the time had one of the best defenses in football. So this pretty much cemented it for them to have, the huge lead going into the fourth quarter. But yeah, it never happened anywhere near anything like that happened in a Super Bowl ever before. So that's number 2 for me. Who's left in this round? Rob.
Wait, is this 3 or 2?
2.
2.
Oh, then it's me.
So
Go
we've all
number 2.
completed round
All
two.
right,
Go number 2.
Thank you.
Go
Thank
number
you.
2.
This should be a good one.
You guys are
Little
so
blood.
mature.
Good. All right, so my number 2 is Super Bowl 27. The Cowboys are leading 52-17. It is another tragedy for Buffalo. The Bills fumble at the 25, 28-yard line, somewhere in there. Leon Lett, who was a pretty good defensive lineman, but had occasional mental lapses in his career, picks the ball up and chugs down the field untouched. Inside the 10, he slows down and starts the showboat, decides he's going to do the Michael Irvin thing of holding the ball out behind him at about the 2-yard line, puts the ball back out, reaches back behind him as he starts to go into the end zone, and Don Beebe, God bless him, down by 38 points or whatever it was, out of nowhere comes up and slaps the ball out of Leon Lett's hand for a touchback. It was great for a guy getting beat that badly, for Don Beebe to play the game that hard at the end. Hats off to Don Beebe, number 1. Number 2, Leon Lett was such a doofus. It was great to see him fail.
Yeah.
And number 3, the 49ers had previously scored 55 points as the most points by any one team in the Super Bowl. And by knocking the ball out of Leon Lett's hand, the 49ers still own the record.
Very nice.
And like I said at the beginning, isn't it fun to see Cowboys screw up? Yeah.
Absolutely. Even when they're winning, it was great to see him fail.
That was on my honorable mentions. That was a good play.
Yeah, I have loved that play. I just Don Beebe working that hard in a game where they're getting blown out that bad is great.
And I believe that happened again to Leon Lett in a regular season game in the snow, if I remember. Something very similar happened.
Right. It was a kick that he touched inadvertently that caused the ball to go.
Inexplicably decided to lunge for the ball, but had no chance of getting it, but touched it and put it in play for the other team.
Put it in play for the other. Yeah. Recovered.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe that wraps up.
What time is it now?
What time is it now? It's time for me to get up and go do something else while you ramble on incessantly about the Mic'd Up app.
It's my favorite part.
Being supportive of others on the network. That's good.
If you like gray, here's Rob Weber.
All right. Again, I'm going to try to do this in 3 minutes. Talk a little bit about Mic'd Up and the other shows on the platform. So you're watching us on the Mic'd Up app, and we want to hear from you. So before or during a show, go down to the bottom of the screen and you should see a microphone. Press that and you can leave us a 30-second diatribe, comment, question, whatever you want, and send it to us, and we'll play it on the air if it's appropriate. Um, our shows, we mostly get comments about our top fives, and people chime in with their own, but we want to hear from you. We don't want a text, we don't want an email. We want you to participate in the show. So please do so. Got a few more shows on the platform. Mic'd Up has got a pretty decent roster going right now. Rick Barry and his cohort Cyrus have the Rick Barry Show. They are intermittent on the schedule, but if you're following them, you can get a notification when they have a show. Rick will chime in about the NBA, college basketball, the ABA, anything basketball related. Rick's still very much involved with the sport and definitely has an opinion about where the game is going, good and bad. Jim Darby. Jim is a longtime sports executive with Easton and Mizuno. He asked me last week to stop calling his show Bears and the Bigs because he wants to branch out from the books that he's written and talk about everyday sports. The Jim Darby Show will be this week. It'll be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, and Jim is going to talk about some of the funniest moments that he's encountered during his time as an Easton executive. One I remember is Jim going to dinner with David Justice and his wife, and Jim asked David Justice's wife what she does for a living, and her name's Halle Berry, and she's an actress, and Jim had no idea.
There's something screwy around here.
Hall of Fame Conversations, John Rieger and Barry Smith host a show that's bi-weekly. They bring in individuals who've been voted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame and do a show that talks about each individual's career and what they've been doing since their notoriety. He's had Fred Blitnikoff and Wade Boggs, to name a few, on the show. Last week they had an Olympic swimmer. I think her name's Brooke Bennett. Very insightful show. Talks about some things that you wouldn't normally hear about on regular sports radio. So I always like to listen to them. And finally, our friends Yankees Coast to Coast. Mike Miller and Adam Schneider, good friends of ours, have a show that is it's mostly about the Yankees and their direction for the coming season. But lately, they've been doing some things from the Yankees fantasy camp. And last week, they did a show with one of the campers who has a large collection of memorabilia, and they did a tour of his collection. Very fun. So those guys are usually doing a show on Thursday nights at 4 p.m. Pacific, and they'll be weekly as well. So those are the active shows. There's always new shows being added, or shows that are one-offs, like Jason Demers from the Sharks has done a few shows, and Max Miller from the Hockey News has also done a few shows. So look for those inside the app. All right, let's go to round one.
Uh-oh.
Bobby, who's up? Uh-oh, he's frozen.
Yeah. Oh, do you call
Well,
on me?
let's talk about personalities a little bit.
Yeah.
But right now he has to decide.
Calling on you to pick who starts.
Oh, well, I'll pick me.
Yeah, you would.
Just because I want to make sure that nobody else probably has this, but I love this one, and I remember it even in the moment. Drew Brees was on. Jeff loves this. Drew Brees was on my fantasy team for a number of years, and I won a number of championships because of him. Um, so Super
Which
Bowl
got you
44, Saints versus Colts. Sean Payton made maybe one of the gutsiest play calls in Super Bowl history. The Saints are losing to the Colts 10-6 at halftime. They come out of halftime, and the depth and the level of which they executed this play, Sean Payton had every guy that wasn't on the kicking team needed to be on the sideline like a normal kickoff. Look at the clipboards, drink your Gatorade, be BSing with your friends. Nobody on the sideline should be looking at the field. Coaches, players, the medical staff, everybody needed to be engaged with something else with nothing looking at the field, so everything looked normal for the kickoff. The punter was also their kickoff specialist, Thomas Morstead. He had been practicing since early December on an onside kick that kind of did a banana shape. It started out to the right and then bananaed back to the left. And he could always get it into this one general area. So to start off the second half of a Super Bowl trailing 10-6 against Peyton Manning and the Colts, Sean Payton and the Saints called for an onside kick, and the guy kicked it to the exact spot he was supposed to. One of the guy, I think his last name was Roby, was assigned to hit. Hank Baskett was the guy for the Colts, and his Roby's job was to run to the spot where the kick normally ends up and hit anybody who was there. It happened to be Hank Baskett. The kick got there slightly ahead of Roby, but Roby dove at him, and it distracted Hank Baskett enough that he kind of flinched, and the ball hit off of Basket and ended up in the Saints to start the second half. And the Saints went on to roll. They scored like 2 touchdowns after that. But I just love the depth that Sean Payton went to on the sideline to make everybody sell that it was just a normal kickoff. Let's start the second half and play ball. Great play, great risk reward play call, and the Saints went on to roll from that. And Drew Brees fantasy football rules. Okay, Marty. Oh yeah, and we call it the catch and the stop. They call it in New Orleans. They call that play the ambush.
Ooh,
Bush.
So, all right, Marty.
All right, I was hoping you were going to come to me after yours, because if you went off on a tangent, watch this. Look out. Yeah, you better, Jones. The title was Super Bowl Memories, and the family when I was a kid and growing up, and then later on in our early adulthoods, always stayed very close. And we always had great memories of watching the 49ers, and especially those early Super Bowls in the 80s. And the greatest memory was just being around the family and the food. The mom always had great hors d'oeuvres, and just enjoying everybody just enjoying the family and themselves and the football.
If you're
I
waiting
want
for
you
a
guys
hug, you
to
might want
write
to pack a lunch.
up yours. All right, who's gonna get a piece of paper and a pencil? I'm serious. Get a piece of paper and a pencil, and write down this name, Neil Dahlen. Last name Dahlen. Why did I ask you to look it up on Wikipedia? He's there in Wikipedia.
So it's got to be true.
It is true. He has 7 Super Bowl rings. Only one person has more, Bill Belichick. Neil Dahlen is tied. It was second most with Tom Brady, and we're related. I'm related to him. He's a relative of my mother's cousin. And the highlight, and the reason why I'm saying this is bringing this all up is, have you ever held a Super Bowl ring? We were invited to a party that he had. Actually, it was his. If I remember, it was his daughter's wedding, and we were all invited. And he had the Super Bowl ring from the '84 Super Bowl. And I said, "Wow, is that your Super Bowl ring?" And he just took it right off and passed it around the table and everything. We've talked before, I think, of World Series rings that we've all encountered during our adventures. But yeah, I held the Super Bowl ring for, and he had 7. He had the 49ers, and then he went to the Broncos and got Super Bowl rings with the Broncos. So
Wow.
there you go. That's it. That, a little on the personal side, but that's my memory. Jeff, number 1.
All right. I'm going to go. This one is part of it is personal and part of it is the play on the field. And that I'm going back to the drive, Montana to Taylor. And 2 reasons I'm doing this is, one, this was the first Super Bowl where I invited friends over to my house, which was my parents' house. Obviously, I was still living at home. I was 18, I think. And
I thought you were 38. No?
no, I moved out
Let me get back.
I
Hold
moved out at 37.
Oh,
Dog
okay.
years.
I don't know. I was a teenager, late teens. And this was the first Super Bowl that I got to invite friends over. My parents weren't home. It was only, 5 or 6 of us at most. But 2 of them were very anti-Niner fans. So it was very enjoyable at the end to watch their misery. And then we had just discovered a brand new restaurant in Concord that had the best, what we thought at the time was the best cheesesteaks. So we got just a massive pound of cheesesteaks and waffle fries and cheese dip, and it was one of those just perfect party moments. And then the whole drive and everything. But my favorite part of the actual game was watching the interviews afterwards and hearing what was said afterwards and watching the video clips of the stories and the behind the scenes and that famous story of, so we're on the drive and we're coming in from a timeout and everybody's stressed and it's under 2 minutes and we got this whole thing to go. And I knew it was going to be okay. Because all of a sudden, Joe Montana just goes, "Isn't that John Candy?" He was so cool, he couldn't care less. He was like, "Oh, that's John Candy right there." One of my favorites. I think that was Dwight Clark that told that story. I think
right.
all of us in here and most of our listeners are big Dwight Clark fans. So
You remember too the when you see the documentaries about that game when the Bengals are all celebrating on the sideline because they just got the go ahead touchdown.
Yeah.
And the mic's on Sam Weiss and there's 2 minutes and 12 seconds left or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Sam Weiss goes, "We left him too much time."
Yep. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my number 1. And I believe we got Rob.
Yeah. All right. My number 1 Super Bowl moment was when my Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl in 1986. But the specific play. Oh, what do you go? Oh, Dick.
Green Bay can suck my dick.
My dick.
The Bears.
The Bears. So my favorite play was a really fun play that all the fans enjoyed, but it was also kind of sad at the same time. William the Refrigerator Perry gets the 1-yard plunge with the score being 37-3 at the time. And gets this touchdown and just totally buries New England at the time, and everybody's laughing and cheering. And then you look over on the sidelines and there's Walter Payton, who did not score a touchdown. The Bears scored 46 points. Payton did not score a touchdown in the only Super Bowl that he ever appeared in.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it was fun to have William Perry score the touchdown, but you probably needed to make sure that Peyton had a hand in the action. But
Yeah.
the Bears won. That was the important thing. My dad was enthralled with that game and the fact that Perry scored the touchdown. And I remember the following Halloween, he built a refrigerator Perry costume out of out of several cardboard boxes. I still have pictures of it. I got to show it to you guys. It's absolutely hilarious. My mom didn't want to be anywhere near him at the party. But yeah, that was my number one moment when the Bears won and Perry scored the touchdown. Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I remember, even though I was not a Bears fan, that next Christmas I asked for that Mike Ditka Bears sweater. That classic sweater that they were wearing that just said Bears across the front.
Yeah.
That classic you see them in all the time. I had to have that sweater.
All right, I think we're done, folks.
We did.
Oh, we
We've
got
got.
lots of comments.
I'm sure there's
Great.
lots of honorable mentions, but we got comments. So, Robbie, Jeff, you want to play those?
You want me to start, Robbie?
Go ahead. I'm getting a beer.
All right.
An Almanac Porch Light Lager because the light was on, and I was just drawn right to it.
So the bulk of our comments come from our two biggest contributors. So I will group them all and do all of one, then all of the other, and then we'll filter it off with the rest. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Good
Right.
call.
Well, let's start off with Super Bowl II. That would be 1968, Packers versus the Raiders. And the game was won by the Packers, but more significantly, it was the last game of Vince Lombardi's career, the legendary Vince Lombardi. And there are many photos today that you can find of him being carried off the field on the players' shoulders. Very iconic picture.
Nice.
The world was still in black and white back then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Going back to the Bears Super Bowl, the other thing I remember from that Super Bowl is Buddy Ryan being carried off.
Oh yeah, not the head coach.
The defensive coach.
Well, you remember,
Yes.
there was an over-under on whether Tony Eason was going to be carried off on a stretcher.
I don't get that reference.
He's the quarterback for the Patriots.
Oh,
Except Robbie, if you remember, Steve Grogan was the guy that got hit really hard in
Yeah.
that game. He got
Yes.
leveled.
Yeah, Grogan came in to relieve Eason.
and we continue with Big Juicy.
Next up, Super Bowl 36, 2002, the first Super Bowl after the 9/11 terrorist attack. And U2 was performing, and at the end of the halftime show, they played Where the Streets Have No Name. And there were two huge screens representing the Twin Towers behind them, behind the stage. And those were the screens that they used to scroll every name of somebody that died in that terrorist attack. It was very moving.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 26 in 1982 featured the San Francisco 49ers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And this has to be the all-time best goal line stand by a team ever. The Bengals had the ball first and goal on the 4-yard line and ran a play, got it to the 1-yard line. 3 plays from the 1-yard line, and they could not score against San Francisco, which went on to win the game.
Yep. And to finish off Big Juicy.
One of the best halftime shows was Super Bowl 43, 2009. Bruce Springsteen putting on quite a show, as he usually does, all over the stage. And the last song, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, he outdid himself. He has a huge knee slide from one side of the stage all the way across to the other side and right into a camera. His crotch goes right into the camera. All you see is black, and the camera pulls back, and he's grimacing a little bit. He must have really run his ding-dong.
And that's probably the only way you're going to get Springsteen off the stage. So
Run his ding dong.
Ding dong. Does that get past the censors?
It did. It did. There's no
No
yellow on
flag.
here. So
if Jonesy
yellow
can throw
card,
out a
okay.
nut bag, if Jonesy can throw out a
Marty-
nut bag in every episode,
yeah,
One time. I did that one time.
just remember, Marty, a ding dong is a hostess snack.
Okay.
back east they call it a Johnny Dick shot. Look him up, folks.
All right, we're moving on.
Please,
We're stopping
quickly,
this. Moving
quickly,
on.
quickly.
Save us, JC.
Somehow I won't be alone with this list, I think. Number 5, Super Bowl 29, 49ers 49, San Diego 26, Steve Young MVP. Number 4, Super Bowl 23, 49ers 20 to 16 over the Bengals, Rice MVP. Number 3, Super Bowl 24, 49ers 55, Broncos 10, Joe Montana MVP. Number 2 and number 1 coming up shortly. JC with the top 2. Number 2, Super Bowl 19, 49ers 38, Dolphins 16, Joe Montana MVP for a change. And number 1, Super Bowl 16, 49ers 26 to 21 over Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Montana MVP. How could I pick anything else?
You could have gone with Earl Cooper in that huge jump in the air that he made when he scored the touchdown and spiked the ball. That was a good one.
And finally, from one of our other loyals.
Well, since I'm not a football fan, I will root for our local boys, the 49ers. But baseball, Giants, 1,000,000% all the way. Can't wait for spring training to start, February 14th. But I'm drinking Schramsberg Rosé. So cheers and go Niners.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And the Kruko jersey strategically placed.
Yes. And that's the comments.
All right.
Terrific. Yeah.
Do you guys have any honorable mentions that you wanted to flip in here?
I got a few. I got the John Riggins run from midfield on I believe 3rd and short, something like that. And he just busted right through that line and took off. And I love seeing the big, strong fullback he's not the athletic guy. He's just the big muscle. And all of a sudden he's outrunning everybody. I always like that.
Just ran through and over people.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Straight. There's no cutting and zigzag.
And he did it with power and speed too.
Yep.
It was surprising.
Yep.
The David Tyree helmet catch.
Oh yeah.
The Giants versus Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Lynn Swan juggling catch against the Cowboys.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah.
Bradshaw got knocked out on that play.
Yeah.
He never saw the catch. He woke back up and like, we got to go. We're like 50 yards that way now.
Marty?
Super Bowl 51. We were invited to. I was with my dad. Then we were invited to a party. That was Atlanta and New England, and I never did really care for New England. And of course, everybody remembers that Atlanta was ahead 21-3 at halftime.
Oh yeah.
And 28-9 at the end of the third quarter. But the game changed, and it's like seeing a potential car wreck, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it got to the point where it was going to go into overtime, and no one cared at the party because we all knew what the outcome was. Why bother? I mean, somebody turned on some music and we started dancing. So screw it. I that was the one Super Bowl. I must admit, I didn't see the end because you knew what was going to happen. And if am I correct that Atlanta didn't even get the ball in the overtime?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they just went right down the field and scored. Yeah. So, and honorable mention. Anybody else honorable mention?
Yeah, I got one that you guys will like. It goes back to Super Bowl I again. So this is Packers and Chiefs.
Thank you. That was an accident. Sorry.
It's all right. It's good buildup, I guess.
Yeah, theoretically.
Do you guys remember Fred Williamson?
The Hammer.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
He was the blaxploitation star who did several films after his football career. But he was known as the Hammer because he knocked out a whole bunch of wide receivers during his day. And he said that 2 hammers would be enough in a pregame interview, that he would stop both Carroll Dale and Boyd Dowler, the big Packers wide receivers, by knocking them out. Fred lasted a few plays into the first quarter. He hit his head on Donnie Anderson's knee, the running back for the Packers, and got knocked out cold and couldn't play the rest of the game. So that didn't play well, and when they did interviews about his football career while he was acting, he didn't want to talk about that game very much. Robbie, you got any?
Yeah, I got 2. The sentimental one, just growing in the neighborhood I grew up in, even though I was an only child, there was like 18 of us that were about 2 years apart, and either way. And we'd always watch the Super Bowl together and then go out and play at halftime, play street football at halftime, and game on, the whole thing. But so I remember that that was a big deal. The Super Bowl was a day we all got together and played ball after we watched ball. And then the other one, Super Bowl 47, the blackout. When the power went out and they were not prepared. The announcers, I think it was CBS, they were not prepared what to do, how to stretch it. So there's a lot of back to you, Marty. Nothing to report over here. Let's go back upstairs. They're like, well, no, let's go to the field.
Let's not go out. We don't have anything to say.
Somebody call Erin Andrews. Maybe she's got something to say. But like, there was 39 minutes of people panicking and just they did not know what to do. There was no plan. That was never even in their thought process. So I that was the most entertaining 39 minutes of football nothingness I've ever seen.
I got one more that I had completely forgotten about. Super Bowl 28, Redskins and Raiders. This is called the Rocket screenplay. Theismann was to fade back in the pocket and then dump one off to the left side to a running back. He completely forgot that Jack Squirek was standing right in the path.
That's right.
And
it was a perfect pass to Squirek
for a touchdown, which is basically 2 steps.
Yeah.
They were buried. Everybody's going, oh, wow, he intercepted and he returned it for a touchdown. Well, he kind of caught it and fell into the end zone. That's the territory they were. So, yeah, that one I always remember, like, oh, God, nobody expected that to happen. So,
yeah.
All right. Any others, guys?
I think we've covered it. Oh, we got one late edition.
We did?
All right.
Well, sure enough.
Hey, I realize that this is not a Super Bowl moment, but what about what happened to get the Niners into the Super Bowl this year? The first half of the playoffs, they played against the Lions. The Lions dominated the first half. And then all of a sudden, they scored nothing the second half, and the Niners dominated and won. Go figure.
Yeah, she's right. The Niners did play a good second half, but the Lions really gave them the game.
Yeah.
They made some really boneheaded plays.
They
Yeah.
they kind of played the way the Falcons did against the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
rolling. We
Yeah.
don't need to make any adjustments.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a 1,000,000% Giants fan.
All right, gang. That's a wrap on episode 28. We'll see everybody next Wednesday night at 6 p.m.
Oops.
It's okay.
We're still at 20.
Topic to be announced. Look for a show announcement. You may proceed.
Okay. Oops.
To episode 28. We still got a lot of work to do.
So smooth.
Professional operation.
Somebody save me.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.